You are playing DPS wrong. It's time to face these facts, and we need to improve our mindset and our gameplay in order to start carrying our games. Remember, guys, the slogan for this channel is stop crying and start carrying, and that's what I expect my students to do. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the misconceptions within the damage role, as well as tips and tricks that you can do in order to start carrying your games better. There are going to be some things that I will give you an advice upon that you might not understand why that's a benefit, and in other cases I will give you advices that will be a little bit more obvious, but we want to keep the advice in this video rather simple, and more in-depth and in detailed stuff will come within the individual hero guides that I'll be doing going forward, starting from the coming week or the next week or so, because I will have some time to start making these things. So with that being said, let's get started with the damage heroes. We got number one, Ashe. So common misconception on Ashe is you don't need to be ultra far away from the team fight. Just maintain a good medium to decently long distance where you can play close to your supports, because in case you get contested, you'll have them peeling for you, and that also means you can peel for your supports. And most importantly, if you're too far away, your damage drop-off kicks in and it feels like you're firing a water gun. So for my Ashe players, please keep your distance in mind. If you don't know where to position, try to position on a high ground that is close to your backline, and just alternate between the spots. If your team is pushing up, take another high ground, take another angle. Don't be scared to kind of move up here and there, but do maintain that medium to long range distance. I think that's a little bit obvious. So I'm going to give you another advice. Did you know that the dynamite, when you throw it, the second that you've basically tossed it and you instantly left click, it's designed to always explode. It's designed to basically, like, your bullet is designed to immediately connect with the dynamite. So if you want to line up a dynamite towards an enemy, just toss the dynamite towards them and quickly tap left click, and you'll be guaranteed to get the dynamite to go off and apply the burn effect, right? So that's it for Ashe. Moving on, we have Bastion. For Bastion, I'm going to keep the temple rather simple and straightforward. Stop using his turret form as a team fight is starting. There's no point, because the enemy tank and enemy DPS and supports will just line of sight you, wait it out, and then poke back in, and now you bring no pressure. Try to use your turret form as soon as the fight is underway. So what I mean by this is basically they walk in, they're starting to push in everything. Now you enter turret form, and now you try to slow the enemy tank down, put pressure on him, and then your tank can hopefully turn the game around and start fighting back, right? So this is tip number one for Bastion. Tip number two for Bastion is, please, for the love of God, stop using his ult if a fight has already been won. Let's say you got 2 or 3 picks, or the team fight has just started. Again, the same logic applies. It's easy for the enemy to line of sight, position accordingly, avoid your rockets. It's better to use the ultimate as soon as the fight is starting, as soon as the tanks are balling and we're applying pressure to one another. Bring out the ultimate then, because at that point, some cooldowns might be invested here and there, the positioning might be here and there, so you can actually use the big overview camera to identify some kills and get yourself some value with that ultimate, rather than just mindlessly spam it in the start of a fight and never find value. So do keep that in mind. Do experiment. It works out really, really well. Going over to Cassidy, my advice for you is going to be, again, similarly to Ashe, but this time a little bit different. Play in this middle ground of being close to your tank, but just within the range of your supports. This is a great way for you to peel for your supports in case there's flankers on them, ensuring that you can bug them off and your supports don't die, keeping you guys in the fight. Or you should be in a position where if the tank wins the tank brawl against the other tank, you're able to push up with that tank and apply pressure. So that is the sweet spot for Cassidy. Lots of Cassidy players take these weird off angles and get their heads blown off by a Genji, a Cassidy, an 𝐒𝐿. They get punished very, very quickly. So please, my advice to a lot of Cassidy players is watch your positioning. We're going to hear the positioning thing a lot, but again, it's just not being done by a lot of players that I'm coaching, that I'm seeing in quick play, in ranked. We need to improve that, right? Cassidy players, that's my biggest advice to you. Be a little bit more passive with your role. Don't just spam it all the time to get the bullets back, because once you do use it for some flankers within the game, they may just insta-dive you and delete you, right? Next character we got for 𝐒𝐿, and for 𝐒𝐿, again, there are some things that are just obvious, but it just doesn't get done so much. But for 𝐒𝐿, please combo the stickies with the focus beam. They're literally meant to work like that, and you can use that to set up a big flank. You can use that to set up a flank and take out a support, etc., etc. but be mindful that once you do commit your entire kit to a character, you're basically left vulnerable. So make sure that when you make a play like this, you have an alternative escape route, you have a health pack nearby that you could rely on in case you start getting pressured or if things don't go your way. And most importantly, with Echo, is whenever you're trying to copy characters nowadays, do consider supports more than any other role. Just because if you can copy a support, yes, it's not the flashiest thing to do, but the utility that support brings for your team is just way better than it is compared to you picking like copying a Ashe or Hanzo and trying to get some clips, but it doesn't work out in your favor. So definitely a secret tip on Echo nowadays to carry with her silently is, copy somebody in the support that might be useful and start enabling your team further from that perspective. Now for Genji, we've done lots of guides. I am basically the Genji guy on YouTube when it comes to guides and coaching content. For everybody that watches my content, they know that I am... Sorry about the background noise. We had some cops just passing by. It is what it is. I think it's an ambulance. Something happened. But so for everybody that knows, I'm a top 500 Genji player. So Genji is kind of my bread and butter. And my advice for Genji is please, please, please use the right click when you're dueling enemy players. A lot of low elo Genji players are using the left click. So basically use the fan shurikens and not the poke shurikens, the primary fire shurikens, simply because they're designed to poke from afar, help you build Dragon Blade, and not actually take duels. Another tip I have for Genji is you can always use dash as a way to get out of a fight. You don't, especially nowadays with how powerful support abilities have gotten, I've come to the realization that actually using dash to disengage is much better than actually using it to engage. And you only really want to use dash when you know for a fact you can confirm that kill. Don't take these chances anymore where, okay, I'm going to dash in and then start comboing. It just doesn't work anymore. Support cooldowns are way too powerful, right? So that's some tips for Genji. And final tip for Genji for Dragon Blade is you can use normal Dragon Blade to take out 1 or 2 supports. As long as you can take out 2 supports, that's more than enough. You don't need to go for a big 4 or 5k blade. Taking out 2 supports to win the team fight is more than enough. The rest of your kit will do its job to carry the game. Going over to Hanzo, my advice for Hanzo is very, very straightforward. Is that, again, the positioning thing, position like Ashe and Cassidy, where you're in the middle of your team. And okay, well, Ashe is not like that. She kind of wants to maintain a little bit more distance so that she can comfortably snipe and everything. But Hanzo's positioning is pretty similar to Cassidy, and we just spoke about that. So my tip for him is try to line up your shots when you're using your sonar arrows. Lots of Hanzo players in lower elos don't understand how valuable sonar arrows are, the ones that can scan enemies through wall, because you can use this to set up a kill. So be sure to use sonar arrows on the chokes that the enemy might be passing through. Not only can you line up a free headshot if you're really, really good, but the number one value that it can bring is it allows your team to see where the enemy might be pushing or when they decide to turn that corner, so you can react you can make a proactive play. Let's say your tank, before the enemy tank comes in, our tank can apply more pressure just because they know how to anticipate the upcoming play. So that is always nice. Like, the key with Hanzo is that information power is everything for setting up kills or for setting up a good team fight within your favor. Finally, Dragon Strike doesn't need to always be used as an ultimate ability that you're using to get kills. Dragon Strike is really good at zoning enemies off and creating circumstances where the enemy can feel very uncomfortable. So sometimes, while yes, you should definitely try to use it in a position where you can try and get kills, but also try to use, and Dragon Strike charges very, very quickly. Try to use Dragon Strike as a means to force enemies into uncomfortable positions, and then try your level best to communicate to your tank or hope to God that he recognizes that the enemy is out of place and you guys can push that. Trust me, it can legitimately, silently carry games. Moving over to Junkrat, don't play this character. For Mei, make sure to play with a brawl tank and hold left click and bring the wall up. Okay, I kid. For Junkrat's tips, literally just learn the one-shot combo. The character is very, very memey and gimmicky, and he's just kind of all over the place. There's no real main big advice to give to him other than if you're going to use Riptire, then, wiggle the Riptire around a lot in order for it to not get destroyed. And most importantly, yes, he's a mindless spam hero, but try to lead your shots, because if you can get good with that on Junkrat, again, you can practice this in the Vaxter workshop code that I will leave in the comment section down below. Then you might be really good on the maps where Junkrat is good, like let's say Circle Royale Defense. Yeah, it's a sniper map, but man, trust me, I've seen some weird Junkrat picks work these days. It's always a surprise, and it can work. You can even use Junkrat on King's Row, but you must know how to lead your shots in order to bring out max value, and make sure to wiggle the rip tire around and make full use of your concussion mines. Sometimes some Junkrat players just end up forgetting about concussion mines. Let's try to avoid that, right? Next up, we have Mei. So for Mei, the advice I gave was very basic. But my advice for Mei players is understand that you can use the Blizzard as an engagement tool and not just a defensive alt tool that you use to slow down a fight or to react. Try to be a little bit more proactive with Blizzard. You can actually do this really cool combo where you bring the wall up in front of you in order for it to not get defense matrix or something. You then toss your Blizzard, the snowball in front of you on that wall. Let it bring up the big cone where it's starting to freeze people. Remove your wall and go in and hold that left click and start, beaming people down. Or you can hold your right click and start shooting people instead. So that's basically the tip I have from Mei. Mostly she's, again, like, this is like Mei is going to be a lot more of an in-depth character that I cannot cover in this video. So we'll talk about her later. Next up, I got Pharah. For Pharah, oh my goodness, lots of Pharah players just stick in Mei and get their heads blown off and don't understand this basic concept that legit makes Pharah the make or break carry of a match, and that is please use natural cover. Pharah can use lots of good rooftops of buildings. She's really good on some King of the Hill maps where there's some good, rooftops that you can play around. Rialto is also a good map for Pharah, first and second point at least. And again, just try to play these rooftops, try to use natural cover more than just stand in main and mindlessly spam. Try to land your shots a lot more than just rely on the splash damage. So main advice for Pharah is please look for these walls to play around and get used to just jiggle peeking with them. The final advice I have, again, similar to the Genji advice that I gave, is Rocket Barrage doesn't necessarily need to get like a lot of kills. Just stick out the backline with it. Honestly, even if you trade 1 to 2, the value that you bring for you dying and taking out 2 supports is so good that you can take that trade any day of the week. Reaper, don't play this character. He's just really bad. Bastion's a better version of him. Okay. Reaper is supposed to be the tank buster, but he doesn't bust tanks anymore. Reaper's in a really bad spot, and I hope they buff him in the near future because it really doesn't seem like they're ever going to nerf support. So we have no choice but to go down the damage creep route. So the common misconception with Reaper is lots of Reapers just kind of stand in the middle of the map, just walk up to the enemy tank and keep holding left click towards them. Now, while that is good against certain tank matchups, don't forget that Reaper is also a decently good flanker, so you can do the combo of teleporting into the enemy backline, apply some pressure, and then get out. So please don't be afraid to do something like that with Reaper. Use teleport to engage into the backline, apply some pressure, and then use your Wraith form, which is your shift, to get out. And finally, don't expect too much from your ultimate. Try to use it as a way to close out a fight. Yes, you can use it to engage. Sometimes the stars will align and it'll work out, but Reaper ult is very easy to counter, and it's just really depressing. The state of Reaper is just really depressing, just like his character. Anyways, moving on, we got Sojourn and Soldier 76. I'm gonna try and lump up their advice in one big go because honestly, they're both kind of the same, but with the inverted shooting styles, where instead of Soldier is primarily doing his damage with the hit scan, and then his right click is a projectile shot that can confirm kills. Sojourn is the other way around. She's actually shooting projectiles that can then do a hit scan shot that can help confirm kills. So tips for both of them is don't be scared to off angle with these two characters. Again, lots of people on Sojourn and Soldier 76 just kind of hide behind their tanks and mindlessly spam the other tanks. Sojourn and Soldier 76 have great mobility. Soldier gets a healing pad to help him out. Sojourn gets an extra boost, as well as a damage orb ability that can help, apply pressure. So don't be scared to take some of these off angles, but make sure that when you enter these off angles, in the case of Sojourn, that you didn't use your slide to get into that position. So in case anything doesn't go well, you can use slide to get out. Other than that, the tips for Sojourn and Soldier 76 are so basic. Like, they're relatively, both of them are really easy to play characters. They're really simple and straightforward. There's nothing too over the top to say about them. Again, for both their ultimates, try to use it in the start of a team fight to apply great pressure, and if they keep poking into you, well, then blow their heads off. It's that easy, right? Sombra, I'm not going to say anything about Sombra. We got the new rework Sombra. We're going to talk about her tomorrow. The patch notes for her are out, so I will see you guys in that video tomorrow. And for Symmetra's case and Torbjorn's case, this is going to be very interesting. but please make sure that your turns are up at all times. At the bottom right, especially for Symmetra, you can see how many turns are online for you when the turns are on cooldown, and you can also see on the map where the turns are located. So keep an eye on them, keep the pressure up with those turns. For Symmetra, don't be scared to TP bomb. It's a great way to sometimes secure a kill because people seriously don't pay attention to the teleporter. And for Torbjorn, use your E the same way that you would use the Bastion turn form, is that if the enemy tank is now beginning to push up really well, then use your E to apply pressure and to force them to move back. Don't use it when they're just turning a corner or they're just poking in for a little bit. You're going to waste such a powerful ability right now in the game that by the time they actually push in, you have no way to apply pressure. In Symmetra's case, try to use your wall as a way, like, try to shield dance with your wall. Lots of Symmetra players don't shield dance with their wall, and please, for the love of God, for the few Symmetra players out there that don't do this, always use the wall diagonally and not in a straight line, like as if it's a big Rhine barrier. That's not how you're supposed to use it. Divide the map in half and then shield dance around it to get max value with that ultimate. Tracer and Widowmaker. For Widowmaker, honestly, the best advice I have is, well, don't forget to put up Venom Mine. Use Venom Mine to check flanks, and land shots with Widowmaker, right? And finally, for Tracer, everything is about blink management. Please, for the love of God, when you're about to engage a target, make sure that you have one blink in reserve. Lots of Tracer players just use all 2-3 blinks to go in. They have no escape tools. They're forced to use recall, and then they get punished, right? So make sure that with Tracer that you're able to keep one blink to just, dodge cooldowns or to blink around and create confusion. And then if the fight is going well, blink in to confirm the kill, or blink out and reset and try again. That is how you can improve on Tracer. It takes a lot of time and practice, but you can do that. That's going to be it for this video, guys. And one final misconception that I want to clear up. I mostly gave advices in today's video, and I cleared up some misconceptions here and there for playstyles and what people are doing with some characters. But the number one advice I have for every DPS player below Masters, because at Masters you understand this, even in Diamond this problem is very much alive, right? And that is, please, for the love of God, don't always shoot the tank. Sometimes there is a flanking Brigida, there is an Ana that's like on the side that got left behind, like there is a soldier on the flank that you can very easily punish. Like, please try to prioritize squishes a lot more, because if you are just shooting the tank has 2 supports behind them keeping him healed up, and through the fight you're just giving them support ult charge, right? So I'm not saying don't shoot the tank, I'm saying apply pressure to the tank, be attentive to your surroundings. If an opportunity presents itself to go off angle and get a kill on their backline, go for it. Or if you see somebody else doing that, make sure to punish them, right? So again, be more attentive. Playing DPS, because again, it's a role that's just very all over the place right now, but you can carry on it. You just have to be very attentive and try to do everything all at once. Now, with that being said, if you'd love to support the channel for free, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button. I made this video very late into the night, so I would really appreciate if all you could do for me is hit the like button. It would mean the world for me, because it gets me going with the algorithm, and subscribe, again, algorithm, and all that jazz. With that being said, I will see you in tomorrow's video, where we're going to talk about Sombra's patch notes. They revealed all of them, and I need to give an in-depth breakdown as to what I think is going to be her new playstyle.